so quick little description here. Got a white spoon, gloss paint, and I've got a chunk of dryer sheet. So what I'm going to do is wrap the spoon in the dryer sheet, and then, come on, focus, there we go. Put gloss black over it, and then remove the dryer sheet, and that'll give me the effect that I'm hopefully shooting for. So I'm all set up. I'm going to paint. Mask is on. That is exactly the effect I was hoping for. All that marbling, kind of looking like cracks. So I'm gonna let this dry. Then I'm gonna put the color change over it, and it's gonna give me a good look as to what I think this will be. All right, it has been 24 hours. There we go. Everything is actually dry. So now I'm going to try, focus, there we go, Extreme Hypershift for blue, aqua, green. And ideally, because it does say that you need to apply it over black, so I'm hoping that the white just kind of bleeds through, or at the very least changes so that it keeps the pattern. Alright. Wrong one. Probably gonna need a second coat just because the color shift stuff tends to, at least from my use. But you can kind of see, depending on the angle, you got blues and greens, and like when you're looking directly at it, you can see all the colors. So I think it's just gonna kind of hide stuff. The second layer may hide the black all around. It may not. It may just give it a shimmer, but either way, that's what I'm working on, so I'm going to give that, what does it recommend? Light coats until satisfied, so it doesn't really say, but I'm going to give it half hour or so, and then I'll try another coat. Alright, so far my tests look pretty good. So I'm going to continue with the wings and the dryer sheets. Autofocus is all kinds on crack right now. So yeah, that is a piece of the shoulder armor. All the white bleeds through. If it would focus. That's better. Yeah. Alright, so shoulder armor. All the white lines are gonna ideally act as cracks. And go from there. Okay. So, kind of at the next stage. Things are looking good. Got a couple of parts already kind of assembled. These have been top coated, so you can kind of handle them a little bit. Being top coated, I am now at the stage where at least what's here needs to get panel lined. And going with pearls, I'm actually going to go with black, so it's a stronger standing out line, I hope. But he has an idea. All those little lines that kind of disappear or just aren't quite as noticeable at a distance. So this, you just fill up your dropper, drop it in. Dogs in the background. And if you can avoid it, you don't want to do too much, but I'll come back and clean that out anyway. But you can already see just how much more noticeable all those designs are. So I'm gonna finish doing this. Then this has to sit in order to dry, and then I'll be back to clean it up. Alright. That is about all we're going to do for today. Show off some of this stuff anyway. Come back and clean that surface part you can see. Going to be more noticeable in some places than others. Alright, that's all for now. And here we have kind of the final stage of the wings anyway. We've got the color shift on top. I admit this is kind of coming out a little differently than I envisioned. I was hoping that only the black parts would have the color shift. And that's not exactly true. The camera kind of hides it, but they're not as prominent where the white lines are versus where the black is. So it's not terrible, but it definitely works more like a whole overcoat. It's even better because now you can kind of see. But it does shift from the green to the blue, depending on the light. So, in general, I'm happy. Learn a little bit every time you do a build. The next thing I do with these, though, is the underside. Because where it's still white, I'm going to paint dark aluminum. So I gotta tape this off, and then I'll paint that. And the other underside of these two specifically, because they're the ones that go in there, so they will shine differently, or look different anyway. So for these two, I'm going to do white aluminum. So fairly simplistic. At this stage, these are done, but the next thing that I was thinking of doing, I'm going to test on this and see how it goes. If it works out, I'll continue it, but otherwise this might be where these end. So I have water effects. This, watched a few videos on it. You can actually, with this stuff, you can actually mold the waterfalls. I've also got just a cheap, like Walmart Crayola paintbrush. So what I'm going to do is put some of this on the spoon, paint it around, see if it gets kind of like the ice, like the wind sweeping across it, so it's got texture. See how that dries, and this recommends about 24 hours to fully cure. So we'll see how that goes, and then depending on the result of this, I'll implement it onto these. And if that goes well, I've got powdered snow and diamond dust that I can either build up, like if it's down I can build up on the tops like where the snow might be hitting, because that's kind of the theme where I was going with this. But if this stage doesn't work the way I like, this is where it's going to end. Then I'm going to paint the underside and it's just going to be a paint job. If everything works out, probably get all the way up to where I've got a little bit of the diamond dust coat on the whole thing and some powder in some spots. So, give it a try. Water Effects just has a little spout. We'll do a globule and see how far this spreads, or easily too. It should dry clear, because it's what it says it'll do. Hoping that if I just spread it around and then form some textures, it'll do what I need it to. And I can already tell that this is a pretty cheap brush because it's not really going on the smoothest. Not that that's a problem. Like I said, this isn't really supposed to be much. I'm not even going for anything specific. I'm just throwing stuff on. Well, given I'm not entirely sure how it's going to look or what I'm doing, I'm just going to leave it at that. We'll see how that dries. If that dries clear and looks good underneath, I'll take it further. Otherwise, I won't. But the next thing I'm going to do is tape off and paint the undersides of the wings and go from there.